He'd have to go in for the kill quickly before she screamed. She stepped closer to him and then stopped at the edge of the shadows. She hesitated only a moment or two before bending down and retrieving a large rock. She headed back toward her trash can and smacked the rock down hard on the metal lid with a loud clang. While making her way to her front door, she suddenly stopped and stared back at the woods. A little more light and a little less foliage, and she'd have seen him standing less than 15 feet away. She unlocked her front door and dropped her purse on a chair, just inside, before she closed the door again. He knew the lock was flimsy and could easily be popped with a switchblade. He moved out of the shadows toward the trailer and walked around the back to the window that looked into her bedroom. He could see through the screened window that she had moved into the bathroom and stripped. He grew hard as she ran her hands over her round hips and stepped into the hot spray. She showered and dressed in her favorite sweats and t-shirt. She placed a few slices of the cold pizza into the microwave. When the timer dinged, she grabbed the pizza and a soda and climbed into bed. As the scent of pizza drifted out her open bedroom window, he stepped back toward the shadows as he watched her. Rhonda clicked on the TV with the remote. It must have felt good to sit. She'd been on her feet for days. She had the next day off, though. It meant no one would even miss her until Saturday morning. Popping the last bit of pizza into her mouth, she settled back onto propped pillows to watch television. It wasn't long before she relaxed back against the pillows and closed her eyes. He waited a full 20 minutes before he walked around to the front door and, using a switchblade, jimmied the front lock. He stepped inside her house, his erection pulsing as he pictured her stripped naked and tied to her bed. He never knew what woke her up. He was careful, and he had planned carefully. But as he stepped past her worn sofa, he heard the rustle of sheets in her room. Next came bare feet hitting the floor and the click of metal punching down the hallway, as if she had chambered a round in a gun. He knew she kept it in her nightstand. He had planned to press it to her temple as he told her about the girl he took last fall. Everyone had heard stories about Tobi Turner, and some had even heard whispers about other girls he had attacked in their beds. The leaves rustled and branches snapped. He could still rush her. He could still overtake her. She was small, and he was strong. But the risk-reward ratio had now tipped in her favor, and he didn't like battles he didn't know he could win. He backed silently out the front door, closing it behind him. As he receded deeper into the shadows and the seconds ticked by, his pulse slowed and the jolt of energy that had cut through him eased. He watched as she slowly lowered her gun and pressed trembling fingers to her temple. She sat on the edge of her bed and replaced the gun in the nightstand. But she didn't shut off her light, as if she felt death stalking her. It wasn't that he couldn't wait her out in return. He could. But for reasons even he didn't really understand, he decided to pass her by. Chapter 1. Monday, November 11, 2019. 10:30 a.m. Deep Run, Virginia. Dave Sherman was hungover. The days when he could drink any man under the table and then rise and shine the next day were long gone. He was 46, so every extra can of beer and shot of bourbon kicked his ass. Clearing his throat, Sherman winced against the sunlight hitting his face as he looked up at the old red barn. Time and weather had stripped away most of its paint, leaving behind a dark gray wood that a craftsman in Richmond had already agreed to purchase for a pretty penny. Most of the reclaimed timbers were destined for a new log cabin in Winchester, and what wasn't spoken for would be soon. This job was going to solve a lot of financial problems. As long as he kept putting one foot in front of the other, dismantled the beams, and loaded his bounty onto the $100 an hour flatbed, he would be set. Sherman drained the last of his coffee. "Let's get moving. Break's over." The two men rose up off the tailgate. downed the last of their energy drinks, and